Picture this. It's the winter of 1942 in Stalingrad. Temperatures drop below freezing, shells fall constantly, food is gone, and every day is a fight to survive. The Red Army is desperate for weapons to push back the Germans. Now, imagine you open a supply crate from your allies overseas, and inside is a pistol that looks like a child's toy. A single-shot stamped metal gun that might fire once if you're lucky. This was the FP45 Liberator, and many soldiers who saw it called it the worst gun of World War II. The Battle of Stalingrad was more than just a fight for a city. It was a clash of two ideologies, fought in the rubble of bombed-out buildings, with civilians still trapped inside. By late 1942, the Germans had encircled most of the Soviet defenders. Supplies had to be smuggled in across the Volga River under fire. Every weapon mattered, from rifles passed down through multiple soldiers to submachine guns pulled from the fallen. That's where Allied aid came in. Through the Lend-Lease program, the US and Britain sent food, trucks, aircraft, and yes, weapons. And buried in those shipments were pistols unlike anything else on the battlefield. In 1942, the US Army had an idea. What if they could mass-produce a pistol so cheap they could airdrop thousands behind enemy lines? The Guide Lamp Division of General Motors was tasked with the project. The result was the FP45 Liberator. It fired the powerful 45 ACP round, the same cartridge used in the American M1911 pistol, but the similarities ended there. The Liberator was stamped together from sheet metal. It had no rifling in the barrel, meaning the bullet just tumbled out. There were no real sights, no safety. And after you fired it once, you had to eject the casing with a wooden stick, reload a single round, and try again. From start to finish, reloading could take 10 to 15 seconds. In the middle of combat, that was a lifetime. The Liberator wasn't supposed to win firefights. Its purpose was psychological. Airdrop it to resistance fighters in occupied France or Poland. The idea was, shoot a German soldier at close range, take his rifle, and throw the pistol away. It cost about $2.40 to make, and General Motors produced over 1 million of them in just 11 weeks. But that purpose didn't always line up with reality. Thousands of Liberators ended up in warehouses or shipped out to allies who had no interest in using them. And for Soviet soldiers fighting at Stalingrad, men who needed reliable weapons more than anyone, the idea of using this little stamped pistol felt like a bad joke. Imagine being on the front lines of Stalingrad. The Germans are armed with Kar-98 rifles, MG-42 machine guns, and Stuka dive bombers overhead. And you're handed a single-shot pistol. Compared to the Soviet Tokarev TT-33 or the beloved PPSH-41 submachine gun, the Liberator looked like scrap metal. Some Soviet accounts mention crates of Allied pistols arriving and soldiers immediately tossing them aside. Did the FP45 see actual combat at Stalingrad? That's debated. Most historians believe very few were actually used in frontline fighting. But the idea that they were sent there at all, to the deadliest battle in history, has cemented the Liberator's reputation as the worst gun of the war. To understand just how bad the Liberator was, compare it to its peers. The German Luger P08 and Walther P38 were accurate, durable, and respected sidearms. The Soviet TT-33 Tokarev was simple, rugged, and chambered in 7.62 by 25 mm, fast and reliable. Even the American M1911A1, heavy as it was a soldier's pistol built to last. Then there was the Liberator. One shot, a range shorter than a living room, and accuracy that couldn't hit a helmet 10 steps away. In a war defined by massed firepower, it stood out as almost useless. So was the FP45 Liberator the worst gun of World War II? Absolutely. By design, it was crude, inaccurate, and disposable. But it's also a reminder of the desperation of war and the lengths nations will go to give even the smallest chance of survival. For the men at Stalingrad, survival meant using anything they could get their hands on. And if all you had was a single bullet, maybe, just maybe, it was better than nothing. The FP45 Liberator has gone down in history as the worst gun of World War II. But what do you think? Would you want one of these in your hands if you were trapped at Stalingrad? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, make sure to subscribe to Letters of History, where we uncover the weapons, battles, and tactics that defined our past.